You talked about this being triggered by family. What if people are homeless and don't have family? How can you help then? I do work with the homeless, and we keep losing people.
I have built a lot of time working one-on-one with people that don't have the resources, and I will spend a lot of time working with people who don't have the resources. But at that stage, that person needs to approach me privately, and they're going to need the willingness. Interventions it takes up a lot of time, it's a lot of resources, and it's taken a lot of training, and that really is a private sector service. The NHS would never endorse interventions. It wouldn't understand the fact, because it's not client driven. It's driven by the family, it's not driven by the addict. And the reason why it's not driven by the addict is because the addict doesn't want to stop. The addict is perfectly happy with the NHS or any other provider taking care of them, and they may not have the desire to change. So it's the sad reality is that the NHS would not endorse what I do because it's not patient choice. It's a structured way of confronting them with love, but it's almost like we're ganging up on their disease, and so it doesn't work in the statutory sector. Is that your question? So for people that are homeless and things like that, I work with those guys on a one-on-one basis. In the 12-step fellowship rooms, I work with those guys all the time, and I come from that background myself, and I'll donate my time through charities to do that sort of stuff. But at that level, that individual needs to have a relationship with me. It can't be anyone else approaching me to go and help with them. It has to be authentic. Does that answer it?
No, I'm actually quite interested in working with addictions myself. I've got background in nutritional therapy, in the process of doing counselling, finishing counselling qualifications. So would you be able to answer who do you work with, and if people are interested in working with you?
Who do I work with?
But, from the point of view staff rather than, client stuff.
Well, we can talk. I'm always open-minded to staff. It's more about creating the demand as well, but there's not enough females working in the sector with addictive disease. There's a lot of females working with addictions, doing coaching and hypnotherapy and that level, but with addictive disease, it's hugely understaffed by women. So there's certainly space for you, and I can have a conversation with you about that. Whereabouts do you live?
I'm in Ipswich in Suffolk.
You got a car? Got a
not
passport?
at the moment. Sorry?
Got a passport?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, we work all over. We happen to be British, but we work all over Europe, Africa, and the Middle East.
I'm actually Polish originally, so I'm bilingual as well. There's quite a large Polish community. I work as an interpreter.
Sure.
I've come across quite a lot of people who are, like you were saying, being let down by the NHS because they weren't really sort of being helped. But unlike the people who are resident in this country, a lot of them here on their own, so they haven't got the support of the community to start with, and I find that in itself is really often the driving force why people will carry on using.
Yeah.
They haven't got the motivation, anyone to be there to support them.
Yeah, there is a lot of problems when I think about people that are reliant on the NHS, and I do not work in the statutory sector. My history was building rehabs, and I used to sell beds to the statutory sector, and that's fine. But when I set up cyber services, it was primarily for the private sector, because I can take an inquiry and I can make magic happen now, rather than going through the waiting process and the means testing and the whole bureaucracy of it all. It's a very different culture that we work in, and that's really why we work all over the world doing this sort of stuff. So I ask if you've got a passport. And if you speak multiple languages, that's always useful. I've got to do some stuff in French, and I haven't spoken French in 20 years. But thank you.
I was wondering what a typical week would look like when you work with the addict, or what's a typical week?
For me or for anyone? I mean, I was in Holland last week, I'm in Belgium next week, I'm in France the week after that. Sometimes I come home and I use my gym.
But not for you, for the addict. What would you work with them?
When we're doing rehab at home, we will work with that client at their level.
So it's home-based?
Sometimes. Or we can refer them into residential treatment as well, depending on their needs and if we think that's a suitable fit. And that's a lot less expensive, for instance, than rehab at home, which is about the same price as a luxury rehab, so it depends on your budget. But rehab at home is normally for people that don't have the that want the anonymity of staying at home and working, maybe an actor who needs to be on set. So we'll take them on set, they'll do their stuff. At the end of the day, they come home, we work with them therapeutically, we go get dinner, we take them to meetings. So we have to work around their schedule. When I'm working with a family in a rehab at home, again, what does that person want to be doing? We've got a guy in Belgium, so we're getting him exercising, we're getting him going out, getting his driving license, he's in his mid-20s. We're getting him to change his diet. We're getting him to look at in a holistic way at all of his affairs. We're changing his relationship with video gaming or computer gaming, looking at all of his addictions, and we're there 24/7, so we have a permanent staff there. That sort of stuff.